YouTube, what the crap's going on? HeirofCarthage here, and I'm actually in a 2v2. Yes, me, the HeirofCarthage. Yeah, no, I haven't played enough battles recently, so I was trying to do some tonight. I got a couple. I have one of me using the all ethereal vampire build that I will show you tomorrow. But I haven't played a 2v2 in a very long time, so I thought y'all enjoy this. I'm going to play as the vampires, and I have an anti-Dawi build here with 3 Vargulfs, 6 skeletons, 3 Cryptors, 3 Fellbats, and Manfred on a flying Hellsteed there. And then I have an Empire teammate here. He's got a couple of Flagellants. There's a couple of Swordsmen in the front line, Halberds on the flanks, Silver Bullets, regular Handgunners, Light Wizard, and General of the Empire, and then there's 2 Knights of the Blazing Sun. Knights of the Blazing Sun have flaming damage, which can be useful against tree spirit units, which there's quite a few present. He's also brought the Sunmaker, which will be a nice artillery piece, though it is being fired on, and actually it's not being fired on by the Goblobber. It's far enough back that it's fairly safe, but I wanted to go ahead and start harassing the Dawi early. On Manfred, in terms of spells, I have Raise the Dead. I also have Invocation into Heck. I've got the Purple Sun of Zerus, and I've also got Wind of Death. I knew I was going up against the Dwarves, and Wind of Death and Purple Sun can both be very useful at breaking up Dawi defensive geometries. And here I've dropped in a load of Skeleton Warriors to keep the cannon busy, while my opponent, or my teammate, tries to approach. He's already lost a unit of handgunners. The Goblobber is brutally effective, and it's probably the one that I should have focused on, but it was a little closer to danger. Manfred just took a nice hit there from some glady skirmishing. So you can see the glady down here. She's doing a little bit of skirmishing. I'm not terribly concerned about her, though. It's interesting that my opponent didn't use the Dragonback Slayers here to help clear up those skeletons a little faster. I wanted to put some pressure on the Dwarf, and he did see me lining up a Winds of Death, which made him move his formation. So yeah, got him to move his formation there. My teammates using the Sunmaker on these Treekin, they would certainly be better used on the Glade Guard, because the Treekin aren't going to take a lot of damage from rockets. They're not particularly effective versus armor. So hopefully he'll move up and target the Glade Guard. Man, that handgunner just got completely roasted. And the Dawi player seems to want an engagement with me, and his army is a lot of Dwarf Warriors being buffed by Thorgrim and 2 Runesmiths, and then he's got the artillery and some skirmishers. Now the Fellbats are going to come in extremely handy here. I'm going to have them run interference, and essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to pin down the Dawi front line, with Cryptors being the only real unit that damages, and I'm going to swing in here behind the Dwarf leadership with the Vargulfs and knock them out. So that's the plan. I'm going to come in here after the Dawi skirmishers. The Slayers are not going to make this easy, but all I need is to keep these guys busy. Some Deepwood Scouts. This is a very, very tasty target for my bats indeed. And you can see over here, I engage their main line, and the Vargulfs, exactly like what I want, are going to come around the back. Now the Dwarf leadership's going to be far too high to break easily, even though these guys can be terrified. And it's because Thorgrim and the 2 Runesmiths are going to have huge buffs. Look at this. Hey, we're going to come help. Have some skeletons while you're at it. So Manfred being Manfred. So Thorgrim is going to take the beating from my Vargulfs first, because he's going to be the easiest one to kill. The Runesmiths will get knocked around and take longer to kill. Now my Empire teammate comes and engages the vampires. His Knights of the Blazing Sun got hit by a Prey of Enethrema. But over here we got Knights of the Blazing Sun as well, and then there's nets being used against the Wood Elf player also. So the Light Wizard going to try and be a big nuisance here. He's using Arcane Conduit, getting up close to combat. You can see here that the Knights of the Blazing Sun got a great rear charge and cleaned up some Eternal Guard. Meanwhile, on my end of the battlefield, Thorgrim is trying desperately to get away from 3 fluffy puppies who just want to lick and play. I don't know what Thorgrim's problem is. He must be an animal hater. Anyway, he's not having fun with that. Knights of the Blazing Sun, though, how about that? 51 kills already? That's pretty cool. 20 kills on these. Oh my goodness, this is going to be nasty. Knights of the Blazing Sun are just going to wreck Wood Elf archers. These guys have an absurd charge. Their charge is very good. Cool unit, beautiful unit. You don't get to see it used too much. Manfred decided to come down and finally shut up the Goblobber now that I've let it kill 102 of my teammates' men. Yeah, you're welcome. I finally got around to it. I don't know what was stopping me, other than just me being air. Alright, everybody, get your grudges ready. There you go. That's a grudgin'. So the Vargulfs are now free to go chase down Runesmiths. The smarter thing to do would have been to attack this one first, because it was already weaker. But I didn't do the smarter thing, did I? Now it's a lot tighter fight over here between the Wood Elves and the Empire. The Wood Elf infantry didn't have a whole lot of really tough infantry to fight, but dealing with the cavalry was going to be the challenge. And the Knights of the Blazing Sun are just running all over the Wood Elves right now. With a pretty fair number of kills. The Sunmaker probably got cleaned up by the Wild Riders, but these Knights of the Blazing Sun, 76 kills over here. And it looks like the Light Wizard did get routed, and the General of the Empire is pinned up, which is not great news. Meanwhile, the grudges continue. Somewhere in there's a Runesmith. I kind of hate using this build, but it is a very effective anti-dwarf build. These Knights of the Blazing Sun finally buy the farm with 115 kills, but then their brethren come in with a rear charge attempting to save them. Looks like there's a spell inbound here. Yeah, an Earthblood. Ooh, that's going to be good timing for the Wood Elves. But the Knights of the Blazing Sun are going to be cycled out, so good call. But they could be chased by the Wild Riders. And the Empire General's back here dealing with all the regrouped remnants of archers. That's giving them quite a bit of trouble right now, actually. Some regrouped silver bullets and just one spear unit that's left. I've got the dwarves pretty well handled. One of the runesmiths routed, and I chased him with skeletons, but then he decided he probably could handle the skeletons, and he turned around. The other runesmith is now getting the full-on puppy treatment, and Manfred is helping to break up some of the dwarf warriors in this flank who no longer have some of the buffs that Thorgrim provided them. Yeah, this Knights of the Blazing Sun still has the potential to be quite useful in this battle. So we're going to take out these regrouped Starfire Shafts. There is still some Wild Riders, but they're focused on getting rid of the Light Wizard. They really ought to try and pin down the Knights long enough for the infantry to mop them up. But it looks like the Knights will be stopped. That's over 100 kills on each Knights of the Blazing Sun, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool indeed. That one had a chevron on it as well. That one had a double chevron. So they got some work done. There's a full halberd unit basically over here. Prey of Enath once again pinning down the Empire General, but I don't know if there's anybody near enough to follow up. Meanwhile, back in Grudge land, grudges are still being written. This day will not be a day soon forgotten by those who support the Dawi. Yeah, Manfred's going to get rid of these regrouped quarrelers. I actually have a lot of money left, and you all did not get to see it, but I did earlier cast a Winds of Death on the dwarf main line. I actually hate that I missed it, but yeah, I got a Winds of Death that killed probably 2.5 units of dwarf warriors that were in the fight, which is why I was able to wrap up one of their flanks quite quickly. I tried a Winds of Death early on, but it didn't work. But then later on in the game did get a Winds of Death. It did quite a bit of damage to my own troops because they were engaged, but it was totally worth it, getting rid of several units of Dawi infantry that would have otherwise challenged my skeletons quite a lot. So at this point the power bar is starting to turn against our foes, and even though the Empire was probably about to chain route, I'm about to turn the power bar against the Wood Elves because I'm shutting down the last few remnants that the Dawi have put together. The Grudge Thrower crew is like, yeah, we might come back and try and get a few more kills. I did immediately sick a bunch of Crypt Horrors on them. And at this point, the chain route happens in full, and the Wood Elves can't hold their leadership together, nor can the defeated Dawi. This Grudge Thrower crew should probably be glad that the timer, or not the timer, but the Pyrrhic victory popped up there, because these guys were about to get all kinds of grudged. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed the 2v2. I might go back and show you all the Winds of Death just real quick because I missed it, and then we'll get to the end of the fight again and show you the results screen because I skipped kind of fast. Here it is. Yeah, I want to catch the Winds of Death just to show you how I used it. I had a better one lined up at first, but the dwarf player either got lucky and moved at the right time, or he saw what was going on. Quite likely he knew what was going on. Many a Dawi are quite familiar with the grudging that's known as Winds of Death. And if you're one of those dwarf players who likes to just sit there and camp and think that you're going to force a horde of vampires onto you while you gun them down, you really need to check and make sure that their lord does not have Winds of Death, or else you might find yourself writing many, many swears in the Book of Grudges. So let's just go ahead and fast forward. This was a lot of leadership in the dwarf army. It's actually going to be quite challenging to deal with. 2 runesmiths on top of Thorgrim. The 2 runesmiths can cause considerable damage to an infantry-heavy build where they can use the Rune of Wrath and Ruin to the best effect, which is precisely why this build seems to work so good against the Dawi. It's good at assassinating their leaders, which tend to like to hang on till the end of a fight, and it's also quite good at dealing some armor-piercing damage with the Cryptors and the Vargulfs. The Cryptors, if you use the skeletons as fodders, the Cryptors can get in and cause quite a bit of damage. Technically, I should have charged the skeletons full on first, and then brought in the Cryptors so they don't become the focus of the damage from the dwarves. And you can see Manfred. Watch this again. This is just fun. This is what I love about Raise the Dead, and I also hate it. It's like, yeah, you thought you were going to join the battle, but Manfred decided not. Yeah, this was where I line up the Winds of Death. So I saw a pretty intact Dawi infantry line here, and I didn't have time to line this up perfectly, but I got over here and got a pretty good chance. You can see how it's lined up there. And we're going to get a considerable amount of damage dealt as it moves through the center, gets some of the Slayers, kills a great number of my own skeletons at the end. But I will trade skeletons for that much dwarf infantry any day of the week. We racked up 92 kills and left this dwarf warrior reeling. That one gone, and caused considerable damage to several other units along the way. The Dragonback Slayers included. So that was well worth it in my books. Well worth it. Anyway, that was the Wind of Death. I'll just fast forward it real quick so we can get to the end screen. I don't think it shows you the replay statistics unless I get to the end screen. But what'd you all think? Was it fun? Hopefully I got you a fun battle. Like I said, I'm going to bring you the all ethereal vampire army tomorrow, which is basically Manfred, Cairn Wraiths, and Hex Wraiths. I know Manfred's not ethereal, but there's not exactly an ethereal lord for the vampires, or else I would have gone for it. It's a pretty fun army, and I think you all will enjoy it, and you'll see whether or not I was successful in administering it. It's a fun build that can definitely work, but it requires a little bit of good decisions and a little bit of smart magic use and stuff like that, so we'll see whether or not I'm capable of demonstrating such things. And then I want to know what other kind of stuff you all want to see. I think maybe the next one I'm going to do, I'll probably either do like an artillery-heavy Empire or Dwarf build, because that one was getting some decent number of votes. And then after that, we'll take another vote, or I'll put up a straw poll or put the poll on the YouTube video when it's due, and let you all vote on what you want to see next. But sorry, I had to fast forward to the end of this one to show you the statistics. I should have covered them and the Winds of Death the first time, but I just didn't want to miss it. So there we go. Back to the end of the battle. Of course, if you were rewatching this, you absolutely could have fast-forwarded. You didn't have to listen to me, you know. Alright, so the Muffin Man, my teammate, thanks for being an awesome teammate. Let's take a look at his army. He got 70 kills with the Sunmaker. Really like the work he did with the Knights of the Blazing Sun, both of them picking up a double chevron. So not bad work there at all. And a pretty fun army that he put together there to go anti-Wood Elf with the flaming damage from the Knights of the Blazing Sun and the ability to hit archers from long range. You can see that the Wood Elf archers didn't pick up a ton of kills. Now, that doesn't mean they didn't do some good. It's quite possible they caused most of the damage to the General of the Empire or the Light Wizard or something like that. If we go to my kills, obviously not going to see a whole lot on the skeletons. It's going to be all about the Horrors and the Vargulf. And in this case, Manfred bringing home MVP. That means the Manfred vampire player. What? No, wait. Most valuable player. Okay, most vampire player. There we go. That works. So yeah, Manfred brings home MVP. Pariah, thanks for playing the game, man. It was a cool Wood Elf army. I liked it. It was different. I'm actually kind of glad I didn't have to face all these archers with my build, but I think it would have. I don't know. I would have been pretty scared to face these War Dancers and those archers. Those War Dancers picked up some nice chevronage there as well, unless they were given that to begin with. And Cornathan, cool name by the way. Thanks for playing the Dawi there. It was a fun game. That Grudge thrower though, and then these Grumbling Guards should probably be proud of themselves too. They obviously ate all those skeletons that Manfred was so kind to give them, but alas, many of these Dawis suffered a huge grudging at the hands of a Wind of Death. Hope y'all enjoyed it. HeirofCarthage signing out for now. I will see you next time.